putting this hood on. It's very heavy and it's somewhat fragile. One of the important things you have to do is take the cap off of both the radiator and the fuel tank. And you want to be careful, obviously, about knocking stuff in there. But the reason being, the caps do not fit through the holes in the hood. You also have to take the breather. You at least have to take the top off. I had the whole thing out anyway, and I think that's going to be a little easier because it gives me a place to reach in with my hand to help guide this hood down. As you can see, I got it propped up on the muffler now. What you're trying to aim for, these latches, which you want in the open position, grab up there, and then the back of the hood is held down when these bolts go through these little brackets there. So it's just a matter of, I'm going to try being luxurious and use the step ladder. Otherwise, you stand on the step in the front axle and very carefully drop it. Carefully, because it's heavy and fragile. There's some scurrying back and forth. We got the front set down. We got both sides. These never line up right the first time. You got to finagle that a little bit. And then the latches, if you got it right, it just latches and hold it in. But the important thing is we need to get those caps back on real quick. Okay, we're safe now. Junk in the fuel, whatever, there's a filter for that. Junk in the radiator is very bad. So I'll flip that latch, flip this one, and it grabbed it. So now it's just a matter of putting the rear cowl little panels on and the screens. The screens, the spring hooks in the top. There's a pin on the bottom that goes in these holes, and it just flops in, and the spring holds the top in. The cowl panels, there are these two pins down here that you line up, and they line up with the bottom here. See, this is a little spring pin. So you get the holes, the roll pins through those holes, you push down on it, and this is going to push against you. And then you slide the top in, and then there are these two pins that match up under here. They're holes. But first we want to put the nuts on these studs back here. The breather stack goes through the hole in the middle. This grommet just kind of floats. And then it goes on the intake here, the pipe that goes to the air filter. So there's a hose clamp that just tightens it up because this is split right there. So it looks like it's tight, but there's room to get a nut driver or something in there. So for the side cowl, see, we got it lined up over the roll pins. That little plunger lets it push against you. So you push against that, and then you finagle it around until you find the holes that these top pins go in. And it's not as hard as I'm making it look. If you can put two hands on it, oh, that's really nice. Oh, there we go. I think we're in. Yep, we're in. So that little plunger is pushing up on the whole thing and pushing the two pins up into the holes in the hood. And same on the other side. You just got to be a little careful because you got the starter and hot from the batteries right there that you don't really want to short out. This side is a little bit more complicated because there's not enough room to fit in there. So you've got to pull the step out of the way, which will just give you clearance right there. And so then you're going to be looking right at the battery. So just don't short anything out. Screens that I really wish I had time to better clean out. There are two pins on the bottom of the frame. Where is it? There's the other one. That match up to these two holes on this little ledge right here. So first what you got to do is hook the spring into one of these holes at the top. And that's going to pull the top in. And then you line up these holes with those two. And then the top snaps in. You got to make sure that you've got your hood latches down before you do that. The pins lined up at the bottom, and ta-da! So she's back together. You remember how to do that? Do a quick review. Let's pretend we were taking it off. So if you're going to take it off, you pull the side screens. You don't even have to, you don't have to take them all the way off. You need to remove them, and then they can kind of hang from the spring if you're not going to do a whole lot under the hood. But you've got to remove these to get to the latches. You've got to remove your side cowls to get to the nut and bolt that's under there. You remember, you push it down. This one, you could just do it without taking it all the way out, because this one, remember, is kind of captured by this step. In fact, you could maybe just do that, and then, yes, get to the bolt there. And put it back properly later with two hands. So the other thing you need to do is get rid of the stack, the intake stack. You can either undo the screen here, pop that off in the grommet, or I think it's easier to go inside, find the other end of it, undo the hose clamp, it's up in there, and then slide the whole works out, because then you have an extra hole to put your hand in that's not going to get pinched. And then the final thing you have to do is take off your fuel cap and your radiator cap. And then if you have a step ladder, great. If not, stand on the step and the front axle and lift and finagle. And you can lift it kind of by the handle and that hole you've created here. The muffler is going to fight you all the way up. It's not easy, and it's heavy, and like I said, it's fragile. It's old. The metal's getting kind of thin. And as soon as possible, you want to cover your radiator and your fuel tank too. One of the things you want to be very careful of is pinching your fingers. Like, you really don't want to grab it from either of these holes, because there's not a whole lot of clearance, and the same around the muffler. And again, because not only is it heavy, but it's awkward. I mean, that thing's, probably 6 feet long. It's got some leverage. It's very easy to pinch your finger. Make sense? You can do it on your own next time. Just be careful and methodical, and make sure that everything's unhooked. Because if you start yanking on it and one of the two latches is still latched, or you forgot to pull that nut off of it, you're going to damage it.